The healing dome of Verathis was known across the galaxy for its perfect medical success rate. Towering silver arches curved over the main hall, and soft streams of blue light danced along the walls. The alien healers who worked there believed they could cure almost anything. Their machines were precise, their treatments flawless, and their faith in their science unshakable. But that faith was about to be tested. On a bright morning, the doors of the dome opened with a hiss. A small, floating stretcher slid in, carrying a young alien woman. Her skin was a rich, teal blue that shimmered faintly in the light. Her breathing was shallow, and her eyes, half open, looked as if they were drifting far away. Her name was Leora, and she was barely 20 years old by human years. The alien healers moved quickly at first. They scanned her with tall crystal towers that hummed softly. Holographic symbols floated in the air, showing her vital signs. The head healer, a tall figure with smooth silver skin and 4 calm eyes, studied the readings. The other healers gathered around expecting the usual confident nod. But the head healer's expression darkened. "Neural resonance failure," he said quietly, his voice echoing in the dome. "Irreversible. She is already leaving the living path." A murmur passed through the healers. Irreversible was a word they rarely used. In Verathis tradition, when someone's neural resonance, the pattern of energy that carried their consciousness, began to fade beyond a certain point, they did not fight it. They believed the person's soul was joining the cosmic flow, a natural end that should not be disturbed. One healer, a younger one with bright green eyes, asked, "Should we try advanced resonance restoration?" The head healer shook his head, slowly. "The pattern is collapsing. We cannot call back what is already gone. It would only cause more harm." The others nodded, accepting his judgment. In the corner of the room, a human stood silently, watching. Commander Elias Vance was the only human working in the healing dome, part of a cultural exchange program between Earth and Verathis. He wore the deep blue uniform of the United Earth Fleet, though here it was mostly for formality. His job was to study alien medical techniques and share human ideas in return. Elias had been in Verathis for 6 months, and in that time, he had learned. One important thing: alien healers were brilliant, but they did not improvise. They trusted their technology completely. If the machines said there was no hope, they stopped. He looked at Leora's face. Even though her skin had grown pale under the teal hue, her chest still rose and fell in weak breaths. There was still life there. Elias had seen worse cases survive back on Earth. "You're just giving up?" he asked, stepping forward. The head healer turned to him. "We are honoring the natural ending. It is not giving up, human. It is showing respect." "Respect?" Elias said, his voice tight. "She's breathing. Her heart is working. She's still here." "Our science says otherwise," the head healer replied firmly. "Her mind is already on its final journey." Elias clenched his fists. He remembered the first time he had seen someone crash on the operating table back on Earth. The doctors had fought for nearly an hour. CPR, electric shocks, every trick they had. And sometimes, against all odds, people came back. He thought about that now. "Where's her family?" Elias asked. "They are on their way," a healer replied. Elias stood by Leora's stretcher, watching the monitors. The alien symbols were foreign to him, but the rhythm of her pulse was easy to read, slow but steady. There was a window of time left. When Leora's parents arrived, they looked almost as pale as their daughter. Her mother's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, while her father held himself stiffly, his hands clasped in front of him. The head healer explained the situation in their own language, a soft musical tone that Elias could not fully understand. But he saw the way her mother's head dropped, and her father's shoulders sank. That was the moment Elias made up his mind. He stepped forward. "I think I can help her." The room fell silent. All the healers turned to look at him. The head healer's voice grew cold. "You do not understand her condition. This is beyond your primitive human medicine." "Maybe," Elias said, "but on Earth, we have saved people who were far worse off. We don't have resonance tech, but we have other ways. I can stimulate her brain manually, force the signals to restart." "That is dangerous," the head healer said sharply. "You could damage her completely. Or I could save her," Elias replied. The aliens exchanged looks. Their culture valued certainty, and human medicine sounded clumsy to them, like carving stone with a hammer instead of a laser. But Elias didn't care about elegance right now. He cared about the girl whose life was slipping away. He turned to Leora's parents. "If you let me try, there's a chance she could live. If we do nothing, she'll be gone." Her parents hesitated. They looked at each other, speaking quietly in their own tongue. Finally, her mother turned to Elias. "You will try?" "Yes," Elias said. "I will do everything I can." The head healer sighed but stepped back. "It will be on your hands, human. We will not interfere." Elias nodded once. He looked at Leora again. Her breathing was shallower now, but still there. A faint spark of life. In that moment, he felt something stir inside him. The same feeling he had back on Earth when facing an impossible rescue. A mix of fear and determination. The kind of stubborn hope that humans seem to carry like a torch. If they wouldn't save her, he would. The healing dome had grown quiet after Elias spoke. The alien healers stood in a wide circle around Leora's stretcher, their silver robes rustling softly. The head healer kept his 4 eyes fixed on Elias, his expression unreadable. Leora's parents stood close to her side, holding her hands gently. Elias could see that her skin's bright teal-blue color was fading into a pale shade. Her breathing was shallow, her chest moving only slightly. The readings from the alien monitors were slowing, their holographic symbols dimming as if they too were preparing for the end. He stepped closer, speaking in a steady voice. "Tell me exactly what's wrong." The head healer let out a slow breath. "Her neural resonance is collapsing. This is the energy pattern that holds her mind in place. Without it, her thoughts will scatter into the cosmic flow. No body can live without its mind." Elias frowned. "So her body is fine, but her brain's shutting down?" "In your words, yes," the healer replied. "Our resonance technology sends precise waves into the brain to restore its pattern. But in her case, the collapse has gone too far. The waves cannot find the original pattern to rebuild it. It is like a painting washed away by the tide. There is nothing left to copy." Elias thought for a moment. "Then why not make a new pattern? Just keep the brain active long enough for it to heal on its own?" The healers glanced at each other. Some looked surprised, others almost offended. "To create a pattern by force," said one healer, "is crude. Our science seeks harmony, not brute repair." Elias didn't back down. "On Earth, we've been using crude methods for centuries. CPR, electric shocks, even freezing someone for hours to save them. Sometimes crude works. Sometimes you just need to keep someone alive long enough for their body to fix itself." The head healer's eyes narrowed. "Your methods damage as much as they help. Our people would not survive such violence to the body." "Maybe your people have never tried," Elias replied firmly. "Maybe you've never needed to because your tech is so good. But what if this is the one time it can't help you?" Leora's mother, still holding her daughter's hand, looked up. "You can keep her alive?" she asked softly. "I can try," Elias said. "If we can make her brain fire again, even in an imperfect way, There's a chance her mind will rebuild. It's not guaranteed, but it's better than just watching her fade. Her father's voice was low and careful. What would you do? Elias glanced at the healers, then back to the parents. I have a device in my lab, a neuroelectrical stimulator. I built it to help muscles recover from injury, but it can also send small currents directly to the brain. If we use it in short pulses, we might wake her neural activity. It won't copy her old pattern, but it could give her mind a path to recover. The healers muttered quietly, speaking in their own language. Elias didn't understand the words, but he knew doubt when he saw it. The head healer stepped forward again. You are suggesting you shock her brain with electricity? Not shock, Elias said. Stimulate, just enough to wake the signals. You said her pattern is gone? Fine. Then let's give her brain the chance to make a new one. The head healer folded his arms. It is dangerous. The energy could burn pathways into her mind. She could awaken damaged, confused, or not at all. Elias met his gaze. And if we do nothing, what happens? The healer's eyes softened, but only slightly. She will be gone within the hour. Leora's mother's hand trembled. Then let him try. The father nodded in agreement. If there is even a small hope, we must take it. The head healer hesitated. Tradition weighed heavily on him. Varathis healers had never allowed an unproven, primitive method in their dome. But here, before him, a human was offering to fight for a life they had already accepted as lost. Finally, he gave a slow nod. Do it. But know this. If she suffers harm, it will be on you. Elias didn't waste a second. Understood. He turned to leave, striding quickly toward the exit. The air outside the dome was warm, the twin suns of Varathis casting long shadows across the white stone. Streets. Elias moved fast, weaving through the alien crowds toward the small research building where the humans were allowed to work. Inside his lab, he unlocked a storage case and pulled out the neuroelectrical stimulator. It was a compact device, about the size of a human forearm, with two thin contact pads at the end of flexible wires. He grabbed extra power cells, a monitor to read feedback signals, and a few adapters to connect it to alien equipment. As he ran back, he thought about the difference between human and alien medicine. Varathis healers valued perfection. Every treatment was designed to work exactly as intended, or not at all. Humans, on the other hand, had learned to work in chaos. They adapted, guessed, improvised, and sometimes that messy approach saved lives no perfect machine could. When he re-entered the healing dome, all eyes turned to him. The healers watched with mixed curiosity and disapproval. Leora's parents stood close, their faces a mixture of fear and fragile hope. Elias set the stimulator on a nearby table. I'm going to place the contacts near her cranial nodes, he explained. The pulses will be gentle at first. I'll watch the readings and increase only if necessary. The head healer nodded stiffly. Begin. Elias gently moved Leora's head to the side, brushing her hair away to reveal two faint ridges near the base of her skull, the spots where her neural energy was strongest. He attached the pads carefully, then connected them to the portable monitor. Her readings were weak, almost flat. He set the stimulator to the lowest setting and pressed the activation switch. A soft hum filled the air. Leora's body twitched, slightly. The monitor showed a faint ripple of activity in her brain, a spark of life. It wasn't enough. Elias increased the pulse slightly, watching the ripple grow. He could feel the eyes of every alien in the room fixed on him. Leora's breathing changed, still shallow, but more steady. Her fingers moved just barely. The head healer stepped closer, his voice quieter now. What are you seeing? Elias didn't take his eyes off the monitor. A response, small, but it's there. She's still in the fight. The soft hum of the stimulator filled the healing dome. Every alien healer stood in still silence, their silver robes brushing the polished floor as they leaned forward to watch. The gentle blue light that glowed from the high arches reflected on their calm but curious faces. Elias's eyes never left the monitor. The ripple of activity in Leora's brain was still faint, like a tiny spark struggling to stay alive. He adjusted the pulse length by a fraction, letting the stimulator deliver its next signal. Leora's head moved slightly to one side, her breathing deepened by the smallest amount. The aliens exchanged murmurs in their melodic language, surprised that there was even this much change. "This is not resonance restoration," one healer whispered. "It is something else." Elias didn't look up. "It's just giving her brain a nudge. If she can respond even a little, she might be able to rebuild the rest herself." The head healer stepped closer, his 4 eyes fixed on the monitor. "If you push too far, the pathways may burn. You must keep it balanced." "I know," Elias replied. He had done this before on human patients, not exactly the same, but close enough. The trick was to give just enough stimulus to wake the nervous system without overloading it. He checked Leora's skin. The pale shade that had replaced her natural teal-blue color seemed a little warmer now. Her pulse, still weak, had gained a steadier rhythm, but he also knew this was just the first step. If the stimulator stopped too soon, her brain activity could collapse again, and if he overdid it, the fragile spark could burn out. The younger healer with green eyes spoke up, breaking the tense quiet. "What if this pulse method is dangerous for our kind? We have never tested it." Elias gave a quick glance. "Neither have I, but she's already dying. We have nothing to lose, and everything to gain." The younger healer hesitated, then nodded slowly, as if beginning to understand. Leora's parents stood beside her bed, watching with wide eyes. Her mother's hands stayed around her daughter's, as if trying to pass strength through her touch. Her father kept glancing at the monitor, even though he couldn't read human displays. He didn't need to. He could see the small but important changes in his daughter's body. Elias adjusted the angle of the contact pads. The readings jumped slightly, showing a bit more activity in the deeper brain centers. Encouraged, he triggered another pulse sequence, slightly longer than the last. Leora's eyelids fluttered for the first time. It wasn't much, but it was movement, a sign that her body was responding on its own. "She moved," her mother gasped softly. Elias allowed himself the smallest smile. "Good. That means her brain is talking to her body again." But then the monitor gave a sharp tone, a warning signal. Elias frowned. The stimulator's temperature was rising fast. It wasn't built for continuous use at this intensity. The head healer noticed. "Your device is failing." "Not yet," Elias said quickly, though he knew it wouldn't last long. He needed more time. The alien technology in the room was far more advanced than his portable human device. If only he could connect them. His eyes landed on a small alien energy core sitting in a wall-mounted dock, a crystal sphere glowing with soft golden light. He had seen similar cores, power scanners, and surgical tools without overheating. Elias turned to the head healer. "I can use one of your biocrystal cores to power this stimulator. It'll run cooler, more stable, but I'll need an adapter." "That is forbidden," the head healer replied instantly. "Our cores are not meant for untested human devices." "Neither are your patients," Elias countered, "and yet here we are." The younger healer stepped forward. "We can make an adapter. I will help him." The head healer's 4 eyes studied Elias for a long moment, then finally gave a slow nod. "Do it, but you take full responsibility." Within minutes, the younger healer returned with a thin metallic ring designed to fit between the crystal core and the stimulator's power socket. Elias removed the overheating cell and carefully slotted in the core. The device's hum deepened, becoming smoother and steadier. Now the pulses would be cleaner, and he could keep going longer. He set the stimulator to a rhythmic pattern. Short bursts, then a pause, then longer bursts. The alien healers leaned closer, fascinated by the way the brain readings danced with each pulse. Leora's breathing grew deeper, her chest rising more strongly. Her fingers twitched again, this time with more control. A faint sound escaped her. Lips. Not a word, but a sign that her vocal cords were coming back to life. Her mother pressed her forehead to Leora's hand, whispering her name. The head healer, still skeptical but clearly moved, said quietly, "You are guiding her brain to find itself again." "That's the idea," Elias said. "I can't give her the exact pattern she had before, but maybe she can build a new one around what's left." He kept the sequence going, watching carefully for signs of strain. The monitor now showed bursts of stronger activity, as if parts of Leora's mind were waking in stages. Then it happened. Her eyelids lifted slightly. Her eyes were unfocused, her gaze wandering across the ceiling. Her lips moved, forming the faintest of words. "Where?" she whispered. Barely audible. Elias leaned closer. "You're in the healing dome. You're safe. Just keep breathing." Her parents gasped, tears filling their eyes. The alien healers exchanged astonished looks. None of them had ever seen a patient return from complete resonance collapse. The head healer finally spoke, his voice softer than before. "This is not possible by our knowledge." Elias allowed himself a brief grin. "It's possible when you don't quit." But he knew this wasn't over. The stimulator was holding steady for now, but the hardest part would be keeping her improvement from fading once the pulses stopped. That would come next. For now, though, they had crossed a line no one in this dome had dared to cross before, and Leora was still alive. The healing dome had never felt so tense. Alien healers, who usually moved with quiet certainty, now paced slowly, whispering to each other in their melodic language. Leora lay on the stretcher, her body pale but steadily warming under Elias's careful attention. Every small breath she drew seemed to echo in the vast hall. Elias adjusted the stimulator again, his eyes flicking between the monitor and Leora's twitching fingers. Each tiny spark of neural activity was a victory, but it wasn't yet enough to be sure she would survive. He could feel the weight of every gaze in the room, all waiting to see whether human improvisation would fail or succeed. One of the older healers stepped forward, his long silver arms crossed. "Human," he said, his voice firm. "You risk more than her life. You risk disrupting her consciousness entirely. If you miscalculate, she could awaken in agony." Elias shook his head. "No, I'm not miscalculating. I'm adjusting based on what I see. She's responding. That means it's working." The head healer's 4 eyes narrowed. "This is not a controlled experiment. It is recklessness. Our science forbids such interference." "Your science failed her once," Elias shot back. "And if you do nothing, she dies. I can't just stand by while life fades because your rules don't allow improvisation." There was a long silence. Some of the healers whispered among themselves. Elias could feel the tension rise like a physical force in the room. Even her parents, still holding Leora's hands, looked worried at the confrontation. "I understand your worry," Elias said gently, "but the longer we wait, the weaker her brain gets. I can stabilize her, but only if we act now." The younger healer with green eyes, who had been watching intently since part 1, finally stepped forward. "I have seen the readings," she said. "It is unusual, but the signals are growing, stronger. I think he may be right. We could assist him. The head healer looked at her sharply. You would side with a human over centuries of tradition? I would side with life, she said simply. A ripple of approval, quiet but noticeable, ran through some of the younger healers. It was subtle, but enough to shift the atmosphere slightly. Elias returned his attention to Leora. Her fingers twitched, more clearly now, and her chest rose with steadier breaths. A faint hum of strength seemed to travel along her veins, carried by the pulses from the stimulator. He adjusted the timing once more, lengthening the bursts by a fraction. The monitor flickered, showing deeper activity in her brain than before. Elias's heart lifted. There it is, he said softly. She's responding on her own now. This is the key. Her mind is starting to rebuild. Leora's mother whispered, tears falling freely. She's alive. She's really alive. Her father nodded silently, his lips pressed together in disbelief. Elias kept working, carefully monitoring the stimulator. The pulses now followed a rhythm he had developed instinctively, short bursts to wake the outer neural pathways, longer ones to encourage the deeper centers. Every flicker on the monitor told him that Leora's brain was attempting to re-establish itself. Then a sudden warning light flashed on the device. Elias's stomach tightened. The stimulator was nearing the limits of its design. If he continued at this pace too long, it could fail. Quickly, he looked to the younger healer. Can you adjust the feedback? Divert some power from the domes. Crystal arrays to stabilize it? She nodded and ran to a console, her fingers moving rapidly over the alien symbols. Slowly, the stimulator's hum smoothed again. The warning lights disappeared. Elias exhaled quietly. Good, he said. Now we keep going. Don't stop until I tell you. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Every twitch of Leora's hands, every slight rise in her chest was a victory. Her eyelids fluttered, then opened slightly, revealing dim but alert eyes. She tried to speak, producing a faint, raspy sound. The head healer stepped closer, unable to hide his astonishment. This is unprecedented. I have never seen the mind regain itself once the resonance collapses so completely. Elias didn't take his eyes off the monitor. It's still fragile, he said. She's building a new pattern, not following the old one. It's delicate work, but it's happening. One of the older healers whispered to another, almost audibly. Could this be human stubbornness? Their determination? Saving a life? The younger healer with green eyes nodded. Perhaps, but it is working. Leora's mother stroked her daughter's hand. She is responding. She is truly responding. Elias allowed himself a small smile, but he stayed focused. We are not out of danger yet. The mind can relapse if we stop too soon. I need everyone to stay calm and let her brain adjust. The head healer finally lowered his arms, a mix of awe and caution in his expression. I had thought humans reckless, but perhaps there is a quality in your species that we have underestimated. Elias glanced at him. Persistence, stubbornness, hope. That's what you're seeing. We don't always have perfect science, but we try. And we fight when others might give up. The dome was no longer filled with tension alone. A cautious hope had entered. Even the older healers who had doubted him from the start now watched with fascination as Leora's body slowly, steadily began to reclaim its strength. Her breathing deepened. Her hands moved more freely. Tiny sounds escaped her lips. Words she could not form yet, but signals that her voice was returning. The parents leaned closer, offering gentle encouragement. Elias knew they had crossed the first critical threshold. Leora was no longer just alive in body. Her mind was responding, attempting to rebuild itself against all odds. For the first time, he allowed himself to hope that she would survive. And as he watched the alien healers study his every move, he realized something important. Sometimes, life was about more than perfection or tradition. Sometimes, the courage to act, even without certainty, could make all the difference. And that courage was just beginning to show its power. The next day, the healing dome felt unusually heavy. Word had spread among the healers. A human had kept a patient alive when their most advanced technology had failed. Some whispered in admiration, others in fear, questioning whether tradition had been challenged too far. Elias stood by Leora's side, checking the stimulator. She was still weak, her breathing uneven at times, but her neural activity had stabilized. The small sparks that had appeared yesterday were now steady pulses, proof that her mind was slowly reclaiming control over her body. Yet Elias knew this was only temporary. The stimulator could only support her for so long. Soon, her brain would need to take over completely, or risk collapsing again. He looked up at the head healer. "We need to increase the intensity slightly. Her deeper neural centers are still fragile." The healer's 4 eyes studied him intently. "You risk more than you realize. If you push too far, she may awaken in confusion or pain. Do you truly understand our nervous pathways?" "I've studied them," Elias replied. "And I understand one thing more than anything. If we do nothing, she dies. If we try, there's a chance she survives fully. That chance is worth taking." The head healer hesitated. His mind wrestled with logic, tradition, and the spark of hope Elias had ignited. Slowly, he nodded. "Proceed, but with caution." Elias adjusted the stimulator, lengthening the pulse intervals and increasing their depth fractionally. The monitor flickered, then displayed stronger neural activity across more regions. Leora's fingers moved with more purpose, and a faint whimper escaped her lips. Her mother leaned closer, holding her daughter's hand, and whispered softly, "You can do this. You are strong." Leora's father watched silently, his eyes fixed on her chest, rising and falling steadily. Even he could see the difference. For hours, Elias continued the careful stimulation, monitoring every twitch and every subtle change in her neural readings. The dome grew quiet around them. Even the healers who had doubted him now watched, captivated by the slow progress. Then a warning signal appeared on the stimulator. Elias frowned. The device was nearing its energy limit again. "I need more power," he muttered. His eyes scanned the room. The crystal cores that powered other devices gleamed softly in their docks along the walls. He had used one before, but that had been a temporary solution. This time, he needed a longer-lasting connection. The head healer noticed his glance. "You intend to draw more energy from the dome's main cores?" "Yes," Elias said. "Just enough to keep her brain stimulated until it can take over itself." "This is forbidden," the head healer said, his voice low. "The cores are sacred. They are not to be used for untested methods." Elias took a deep breath. "I understand. But this is life we are trying to save. Traditions are important, yes. But life is more important. I ask your permission." The younger healer with green eyes spoke up again. "We will assist him. The patient's life matters more than tradition." Another healer hesitated, then said quietly, "Perhaps the human is right. We have never considered that life may require action beyond our established rules." The head healer's 4 eyes shifted from Elias to his fellow healers. Finally, he sighed. "Very well. But every step is on your hands, human." Elias nodded. "Agreed." Together with the younger healer, Elias connected a main core to the stimulator. Energy flowed smoothly, stabilizing the device. For the first time, he could apply stronger pulses for longer periods, giving Leora's brain the chance to rebuild more completely. The monitor began to show patterns he had never seen before. Complex waves of activity surged in Leora's brain, intertwining in ways that indicated real progress. "She's awakening," Elias whispered. "Not fully, but she's fighting." Her fingers twitched, then grasped weakly at her mother's hand. A faint, almost inaudible word escaped her lips. "Mother." Her mother's eyes widened, tears spilling freely. "Leora!" she cried softly, pressing her forehead against her daughter's hand. Her father exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. "She is truly returning," he said almost to himself. The head healer stepped forward, speaking to the gathered healers. "Observe carefully. This is not simply healing. It is a phenomenon we have not seen in all of Varathis. A human's method, crude, untested, has coaxed the mind back from final collapse." Elias glanced up. "She's not fully recovered yet, but she can do it. She needs more time and careful support. That's all she needs." Some of the older healers murmured in disbelief. They had lived centuries studying their perfect techniques. To see a human idea succeed where their flawless resonance technology had failed was humbling. Leora's eyes flickered fully open for the first time in 2 days. They were dim at first, unfocused, but alive. She tried to speak again, whispering, "Where am I?" "You're in the healing dome," Elias said gently. "You're safe. You're coming back." Her lips trembled into a faint smile. Her mother kissed her hand, whispering encouragement. Her father placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Elias stepped back slightly, letting them interact. But he never stopped watching the monitor. Leora's mind was rebuilding, but fragile areas remained. A wrong pulse or a pause too long, and the delicate progress could collapse. Hours passed. Slowly, Leora's neural activity became steadier. Her fingers moved more confidently. Her chest rose and fell with stronger, more regular breaths. The alien healers watched in fascination, some taking notes, others simply witnessing. Finally, the head healer spoke again. "I admit, I have underestimated human persistence. Your courage to act, your refusal to surrender, it has changed what I understand about life." Elias nodded, exhausted but proud. "Sometimes it's not about perfect knowledge. Sometimes it's about trying, no matter how small the chance." The dome had shifted in those hours. What had begun as resistance and skepticism had turned into cautious hope. Aliens who had doubted human methods now studied every detail, learning that determination could rival even the most precise technology. Leora's parents whispered words of gratitude, her mother brushing strands of hair from her daughter's face. Leora's fingers curled around her mother's hand with a gentle strength. Elias allowed himself the smallest smile. The next steps would be delicate, but the first and hardest part was complete. Leora's mind was fighting back. And for the first time, he could see a future where she would fully recover. The sun of Varathis rose over the city, painting the healing dome in soft golden light. Inside, the air was calm but alive with quiet energy. Leora lay on her bed, fully conscious now. Her skin had returned to its natural rich teal blue, her chest rising with steady, even breaths. The faint spark of life that Elias had fought to protect was now a steady flame. Her eyes opened fully, focusing on her parents' faces. Her mother's hands were still holding hers, while her father's hand rested on her shoulder. Tears glimmered in their eyes, not of sorrow, but of immense relief. "You saved me," Leora whispered, her voice stronger now. Elias smiled, his tired body relaxing for the first time in days. "No one else would. I just kept trying, that's all." The head healer stepped forward, a mix of respect and awe in his expression. "I must admit I did not believe it possible. You, human, have done what our most advanced technology could not. You have preserved life where it was thought impossible." Leora's mother looked at Elias with gratitude she could not put into words. "We feared the worst," she said softly. "You gave her a chance when no one else would." Elias shook his head. "She gave herself a chance too. My job was just to help her fight." The alien healers gathered around, speaking softly among themselves. For centuries, their culture had valued perfect science and precise technique above all else. Yet here, a single human's idea, simple, persistent, and unafraid, had changed their understanding. The head healer spoke again, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of authority. "We have studied humans for some time, but today, I see something new. Your species, your determination, your refusal to surrender. It can achieve what even perfect science cannot. Perhaps there is wisdom in your ways that we have overlooked." Elias nodded. "Sometimes it's not about perfect knowledge. Sometimes it's about trying, no matter how unlikely the outcome. Life deserves that effort." Leora's father spoke, his voice steady, but filled with emotion. "You have changed how we see humans. Today, we have learned from your courage." Leora herself, now sitting up slowly with Elias's assistance, looked around the room. She studied the alien healers who had once declared her lost. I feel like I have a second chance," she said softly. "I want to understand what happened. I want to learn from all of you." The head healer studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "You have survived not only by human intervention, but by your own will. That alone is remarkable. You may yet become a teacher to us all." Elias glanced at her parents, then back at the healers. "She's strong. She has the will to live." That made all the difference. Days passed in the dome. Leora regained strength rapidly, her mind clearer and sharper than before. The stimulator was removed, and her neural readings remained steady, showing full recovery. Her body moved with confidence, her thoughts organized, and her voice clear. The alien healers took careful notes, analyzing every detail of the method Elias had used. They discussed its implications quietly, considering how human techniques could complement their own. The dome, once a place of rigid certainty, now buzzed with curiosity and cautious excitement. Leora's parents stayed close, guiding her as she relearned daily activities. Each time she succeeded, a smile lit her face, and her gratitude toward Elias grew deeper. One morning, as Leora practiced walking unassisted, the head healer approached Elias. "We have debated, studied, and reflected. Your actions have shown us a truth we cannot ignore. Sometimes life must be preserved not only by knowledge but by determination and courage. We will name this method in your honor, the Vance Restoration Protocol." Elias's eyes widened slightly, caught off guard. "You named it after me?" "Yes," the healer said simply. "It is not only the device, but your approach, your persistence, your refusal to give up that saved her life. That is what we wish to honor." Leora stepped forward, her voice steady. "Thank you, Commander Elias. Without you, I would not be here. You showed me the meaning of hope and determination." Elias looked at her, his tired body filled with quiet pride. "You were the one who fought too. I just helped." The head healer nodded again. "Let this be remembered. Life is precious, and sometimes courage, even human courage, can teach the most advanced minds a lesson." In the following weeks, Leora became an advocate for cross-species medical learning. She studied both human and alien techniques, learning to blend them in new ways. Her story spread across Varathis, inspiring healers and scholars alike. They learned that sometimes rigid perfection must yield to action guided by heart and will. Elias returned to his own research, but he often visited Leora. Each time he saw the strength and curiosity in her eyes. She was no longer a patient, on the edge of death. She was a symbol of what could be achieved when determination met opportunity. One evening, as Elias looked out over the city from the dome's highest terrace, the twin suns dipping toward the horizon, he reflected on what had happened. Humans were not the most advanced species by technology or energy manipulation, but perhaps there was something more valuable: persistence, hope, and the courage to act when all seems lost. Leora's recovery had changed more than one life. It had shifted the thinking of an entire alien culture. And it reminded Elias, quietly but firmly, that sometimes the simplest human qualities could shine brighter than any machine, any technology, or any tradition. In the end, life had been saved, not by perfection, but by hope, determination, and one human who refused to let fate decide. And that was more advanced than anyone had ever imagined.